The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another special edition of Soccer to the Max on the normal night that we do this thing. Of course, if you didn't get to listen, we did a show yesterday talking about the U.S. Women's National Team win over New Zealand 5-0, the possible changes to MLS playoffs that could be coming in the future, some more things that have the NASL antitrust lawsuit that they filed, and a few other things as well. And on this one, we're going to be talking the U.S. Open Cup final between Sporting KC and New York Redbull, with Sporting KC 1-1. And the MLS game with Montreal and Toronto, and Atlanta with another blowout, this time of the LA Galaxy at home. So, and Colorado's already trying to fill their coaching vacancy. They are apparently they have apparently over 100 candidates that contacted them, quote unquote, but they already have 4 that have visited with them, and they're hoping to get a final 4 or 5 as they try to make their way through the process here. But Eric, last one until for the week, I guess, because Sunday technically starts another week.
I'm sorry, did you say 100?
Supposedly 100 people have contacted them. Yes, okay, so a team spokesman, Ryan Madden, told the Denver Post, later confirmed to MLSsoccer.com on Wednesday, that the Rapids were contacted by more than 100 candidates about the job. They also hired an outside data analytics firm to identify other targets.
This has an aura of fake news. 100?
It's here. I'm not reading BS.
100?
Hey, I guess a lot of people want to go live in Colorado. I don't know.
Okay, I can
it's
get
nice
one
during the summertime, you know.
Look, I can get living in Colorado. There's a lot of perks to living in Colorado, especially since it's, well, in good proximity to Montana as a bonus. But at the same time, living in Colorado is one thing. Coaching the Rapids is another.
You can change the style in the Rapids. You can bring a more attacking style to the Rapids, which is what they're looking for. And so here's I didn't mean for us to start with this topic, but it's our only news topic, so why not? So they've apparently spoken with former U.S. national team player Josh Wolf, ex-Venezuelan, he's the current Columbus Crew assistant coach, Josh Wolf. Also, ex-Venezuelan national team manager Cesar Farias, who I remember well. They did okay under Farias. Former Blackburn head coach Henning Berg, and Stanford University head coach Jeremy Gunn. That's who they've spoken to, I guess, personally, and apparently Farias was spotted there officially on Saturday. So take that for what you will. Anything?
I will say it's a very wide-ranging list. They're going after what could be some good names, but there's no one that really jumps out, but overall, I can't make any complaints about any of their choices either.
Out of the out of the ones that they would personally talk to, my money's on Fadias or Josh Wolf, honestly. Henningberg's kind of seems like a really just out of nowhere, and I can't say Stanford University has a great pedigree, obviously. Uh, you know, George Morris, and most recently, and
Mm-hmm.
also on the women's side as well. But I don't know, bringing a college coach into MLS when you have so much. We've just talked about. You have first time ever you've had 5 coaches fired in 1 year. So much is now riding on the line with these, stadiums going up, expansion happening. The league is trying to get better ratings and do everything else. I mean, a lot of pressure now in Denver to deliver because, they try with Maschereni. They want attacking play. I know it's 100 candidates. I mean, they could be wide ranging forever, like you're saying. Just they
mean,
want to have a hire in place by November 1st. So
how? What? Okay. Colorado, there's certain things that are legal up there. Partake of some and then calm down. I don't think you're fully thinking this decision through.
what do you mean?
It's first say you have 100 candidates. Now, I personally, with a place like Denver and with a team like
I'm assuming they will whittle that down.
No, and I understand that, but my whole thing is this. First of all, I don't mind necessarily bringing in a college coach. Fans would have to understand patience, and you would have to exercise patience at least 18 months to 2 years minimum for him to get his feet wet and to get everything under control in like the way he wants. There's not a whole lot to build off of, especially in attack. But that said, yes, you're going to whittle it down. Yes, you're still talking to all these people. November 1st, as we're recording this, you're only looking at 5.5 weeks. You'd have to be whittling like an old man with a piece of wood on a porch day and night.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that those 100, you're not talking about everybody is a serious candidate either. People, so you could consider a candidate like somebody that just happens to call.
Yeah, and I get that, but at the same time, then why even come up with that number? Are you artificially trying to make yourselves more popular than you are?
Of course they are. Of course they are. This is a team spokesman, the PR person. Of course they're making it seem like this is a hot job, right?
Okay, but even with PR, if I'm just sitting here on my couch and I can see through that, don't you think other people can?
They don't care. It's like, I've had to go through so many PR people, whether it's for the game section that we have, or just other things, and a lot of those press releases you're reading, like, oh my God, this is such, whatever.
I'm face to face with PR people, and I've had better PR than them with my eyes closed sometimes.
Right. They are paid to say things like this, or try to build up. That's what you're supposed to do. You're trying to build your team up. So I don't blame the spokesperson if they really only have, say, 10 real candidates and the other 90 are just people that happen to dial a number. I mean, it is what it is. But still, they're going to eventually have a coach with, the big splash that LAFC made. And, with there were various coaches obviously available just from the 4 that were given here. It does seem a bit, like you said, wide-ranging, and that's good at least.
Yeah, they're thinking out of the box, and I appreciate. Now open up a little package with a nice smiley face on it, and do whatever's necessary and get this right.
Well, we'll see as time rolls on, but let's. I did not intentionally choose that word, but now that Get your laugh. I can see what you're saying there. So let's start with the two MLS games. Since one of them has, or both of them actually have a big impact, because Atlanta's trying to solidify their spot in the East there, which is not totally. Now the New York Red Bull have a lot to worry about with this win here with Montreal, even though they're hoping. Montreal defeats rival Toronto FC 5-3. It was actually 5-1 in the second half, and then Toussaint Ricketts was able to knock two of them back to make it 5-3 and make Montreal have flashbacks of the conference final from last season a little bit, but they were able to hold on. The first goal was just really weird. Comes off the side of the hip off a deflection of Mr. Piatti. After that, they had a few really nice goals, and Toronto was able to pull one back towards the end of the half, and then the floodgates kind of opened in the second half. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, let's be clear. Toronto kind of opened up that valve on the floodgates on their own. I mean, not just the first goal where Piatti was trying to execute a video game move mid-air and happened to score based on a fluke, but then terrible defending to let in a goal from 35 yards out, top corner. And then the fact that you're down 3-0 after, 20-some-odd minutes?
Right, yeah.
I mean, the announcer said it best. You've got fans that hadn't even sat down yet. They come in, look at the scoreboard, and wonder, good God, how much did I drink?
And I should be fair, the goal that Toronto received was actually an own goal from Montreal. So
Exactly. So Montreal scored 4 goals and were up by 2 at the half. What does that tell you?
Tells you a lot. Also, you got to put this in there. No Josie Alcero, no Sebastian Giovinco. For Toronto, those are 2 huge pieces not available for you in this game. Of course, there are games on the weekend for all the MLS teams. And as I mentioned, Montreal knows they have to win this game because they have Atlanta, and I'm going through your tablet again. And Atlanta is, well, that stopped. Oh, that was quick. Atlanta is playing them in Mercedes-Benz on the weekend, and that's big. Montreal's got a tall hill to climb when it comes to going in that huge stadium in that environment. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit here. Montreal's been on this 4-game losing streak. They even had to have a letter from the owner, Joey Saputo, to talk about how disappointed he's been in this trying season.
Was it in Quebecois French?
No, it was not in French. No.
Yeah, then he wasn't.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he did write a portion in French, but what we got to see was in English. So
I won't believe how serious he was until I see Quebecois French. Sorry.
Fair enough. Toronto gets a nice break of. I mean, I guess they're having to go to New England where the Revs play much better. But they get a nice break of having to play the Revs. Like I mentioned, Montreal doesn't have to play till Sunday at 5, so they get a nice extra day of rest playing Atlanta in Mercedes-Benz, as I mentioned. And then you also have to deal with the other team here. Like I said, big win for Montreal. They still have to deal with being 3 points behind the Red Bull, and the Red Bull have a game in hand right now. So that's something that they have to monitor as far as needing the Red Bull to lose and possibly even draw to drop some points. The Red Bull are playing Columbus in Columbus, where Columbus play much better. So
Yeah, the way the Red Bull are playing, Montreal won't have as much to worry about.
Away from home, the Red Bulls have not been so good. So I don't. It's possible that Montreal could get a break here, but we'll have to see. Of course, the Galaxy were the next team to take that trip to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and play Atlanta there. And oh boy, it didn't take very long for them to feel the wrath of Joseph Martinez. He only scores one goal, but he scores the first goal. And that was enough to open everything. You're already, they scored another goal, if I'm not mistaken. And then, yeah, they scored all 3 goals before the 30-minute mark. Then, rightfully, Jermaine Jones gets a red card for leaving his foot in after being taken down on a challenge. I can't remember who on the Atlanta side got the yellow, but Jermaine Jones leaves that leg in and he gets the red card, and that makes a difference later on because around the 80th minute you have the very young Atlanta player that also gets a red card for sort of Vasquez for doing the same thing pretty much, leaving a leg in at the wrong time. And I think with the red card you already gave in the match, you had to give a red card to him. They even went to video review, still gave him the red card. I don't know that he's a huge miss in the grand scheme of things for Atlanta, but at least Galaxy got to play with 10 on 10 for the last 10 minutes. But go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, it might have just been a couple of incidents of them doing the hokey pokey gone wrong.
Jermaine Jones, no stranger to these kinds of things. So, doesn't surprise me. Maybe he was just like, I want to take the whole rest of the other half off. We're already losing anyway.
He wanted to go to the stands because if you think about it, Mercedes-Benz, I bet it was another huge crowd. He wanted to take advantage of the dirt cheap concession prices just like everybody else. I say that's a good idea.
It is a good idea. Very good goal by Almiron as well, by the way, on that fourth one. You know, I wonder with the Galaxy, how many more times can Ziggy Smith watch the team get beat down like this? And if you're the management, can you not just the management, but the ownership as well, like at some point, don't you have to look at the general manager and some other guys and go, can we really fire Shiggy Smith, or do we need to fire somebody else? Because, look, it's not the team didn't try, because Alessandrini got a few opportunities. Boateng had one that they just didn't connect, or he would have been on goal and possibly would have scored one. But they were few and far between, and then obviously a lot of this happened after they're already 3-0 down, 4-0 down. And, you know, when you're down to 10 men, I don't think Atlanta really cares at that point because they know all they have to do is turn it on and they can get another goal. It's not... and also, they said it on commentary, but Tata Martino basically, without saying it, said that they know that they're vulnerable at the back, but they don't care. They're just going to keep attacking and, you know, basically try to outscore you.
Exactly. Essentially pulling the old North Korea strategy like they did against Portugal in the quarterfinals of the '66 World Cup. Granted, it did not work for the North Korea.
Holy shit. Wait a minute. Wow.
What?
You're pulling a '66 World Cup reference?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
What?
No, that's just so out of left field that I'm just like, I don't even know what to say to that.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, North Korea, after pulling one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history, beating a 10-man Italian side 1-0, their first goal in the tournament, and qualifying to the quarterfinals, they faced powerhouse Portugal with Eusebio. Now everything worked out perfectly for the North Koreans in the first half, getting a very easy, very comfortable 3-0 lead. However, they forgot how to defend, or really never learned how to defend efficiently with such an advantage. Eusebio did Eusebio things. Portugal wound up coming back, winning the match 5-3. However, they wound up losing to them in the semifinals. I think of this, and I think of this strategy, and I think of that team in that match. They did very well for their great leader, but they didn't win. They were happy, and Atlanta's happy.
Yeah, Atlanta's happy, and I still want to say that's amazing that you. I'm sure you probably watched this on some kind of match thing, but it's still. Hey,
That is
I'm not.
the biggest reaction I have ever received from you. So I was like, what did I do?
No, you almost made me spit up my coffee at you making a 1966 World Cup reference, but yeah, so you're right in that this has been their thing the whole year, right? They haven't wavered on this at all. When they've had to defend, they do have good defenders. It's not like they don't. Michael Parker's very experienced. Gonzalo Pires has been actually very good for them this season. Greg Garza is fine, but we can say what we want for Brad Guzan. He did make a nice save for a shot that he thought wasn't going to be anywhere near the goal, and he has to go across the goal to make the save to make sure it doesn't go in the net. So props to him on that. So
Blind hog finds an acorn every once in a while.
Oh God, stop hating on him. He's not. You act like he's bad just because he went in and didn't play for a long time. He's redeemed himself on that. I think.
Jury's still out. To be determined. Timid, if you will.
Okay, fair enough. But in Mercedes-Benz, so far they're averaging 3 goals a game, which is ridiculous. And, the way Montreal plays, I wouldn't say that they couldn't do that again on Sunday. But you obviously have a much more motivated Montreal side as well. So that's going to be a fun game to watch.
I'm anticipating that Atlanta-Montreal match to wind up a lot like Atlanta-Orlando. And the fact that what they have done, and we've talked about this off air, that makes Orlando's performance at Mercedes-Benz even more impressive.
Let's hope so. I think.
I said this about past matches, but looking at this and looking at Montreal, is 5-5 really out of the question?
It's not, but I will say that Orlando, there's that rivalry there too, of the Southeast rivalry that obviously MLS is trying to make something, but there is that sort of. You don't have that in you don't have that in really any other sport because there's no what in Orlando the basketball maybe that would be the only one.
Yeah, but they don't. But Atlanta does not care about the Hawks. They don't. So take that out of the consideration.
I'm just saying that's the only sport that they have that in. But I get. You could have it with one of the Florida teams and the Falcons if you wanted to, but I don't.
No,
I wouldn't say that they do.
They tried it with the Bucks and the Falcons, but no.
At least they're in the same division, so
true.
That's fair enough. But still, my point stands that Orlando went in there and gave them a hell of a fight. Something that FC Dallas did not do, as they continue to be on their slump. Who do they play after Orlando? That I can't. Oh, the Rebs, who they walloped and caused Jay Heaps to get fired. And then you have this. They had another game before that, right before this one. That was the one where Joseph Martinez got the 3 goals, which I can't remember who they played now. It was damn it. Why am I forgetting? We talked about these games and I'm totally blanking.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't remember one because I know it was New England, Orlando. I don't think they had a game in between. I might be wrong, but I don't think so.
Okay. Dang it. I have to go to their damn website. Well, yeah, I mean.
Well, to go on the other side of the coin, while you look that up, I'm going to say something about the LA Galaxy that I've kind of seen coming for a long time. Yes, a fish rots from the head. I think this is time that you look at general management and other top brass to see if they're at the root of the problem. Because...
Yeah, you're right. It was Dallas, New England, then they had the draw with Orlando, and then they beat Galaxy.
Yeah, they didn't have another game in between. But for the Galaxy, fish rots from the head, and the Clippers, they had a short window to be the basketball team in LA while they were up and the Lakers were down. That window was closed. The Angels never had a window to be the baseball team in LA. It's always and will forever be Dodger Town. The Galaxy's window for being the soccer team in LA, I'm telling you right now, it's closing much, much faster.
Honestly, I feel like the Galaxy fans don't really, other than the small sector of Galaxy fans that go to the games, I don't think there's a lot of people that really care that much about the Galaxy.
No, and once LAFC comes to town, and if they're at least formidable their first year, and the Galaxy keep playing like this, that window's going to be closed. And LAFC will be the soccer team in LA. And I think once they gain that status, I don't know if the Galaxy can ever get it back.
Yeah, you might not be wrong, depending especially on who LAFC signs, past Carlos Vela and everything. If they were able to get the elusive Zlatan, we might not be kidding ourselves about LAFC really being formidable here, but Atlanta's schedule looks like this, and it looks very, very good for them. Montreal, playoff team, or, trying to be a playoff team. Philadelphia, pretty much eliminated. That's in Mercedes-Benz. They go to Gillette Stadium, where the Revs do play better, but it's the Revs at this point with an interim coach. Then they have Minnesota come to Mercedes-Benz. Oh, boy. What a nice just slew of a schedule there. And that's the ones where they go Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. They play straight through until then they get a big break until October 15th.
So that's not even real fixture congestion, but now they're sitting, what, 4th in the East right now?
Yeah, I think so. And it's just the one thing I do worry about, and Tata Martino was talking about this, is he said he wasn't worried about the fixture congestion and he wasn't worried about playing the same players all the time. And I was like, you might want to rotate a little bit. I mean, you can't have everybody play every game. They're going to get worn out.
You have to, because Atlanta, they don't have the depth of really even of any of the bigger MLS clubs, let alone any of the European clubs who manage to just send out almost incredible squads every 3 days. You can't do that here in MLS. If he realizes that, given how with their schedule and how the standings shake out, if Atlanta keeps this run, instead of talking about them locking up playoff position, we could be talking about them locking up a bye.
Yeah, they're only 5 points away from New York City FC right now.
Wow.
If they get 3 points, they'd be sitting on 49. And then depending on what Chicago and New York City do, New York City is only on 51. They're not going to reach Toronto. They've pretty much, as long as they at least win on the weekend, they've locked up the supporter shield. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Atlanta could seriously be second, and it's not even a joke, because look at like I just laid out for you. Look at who they play before they get to that October 15th date with the New York Red Bull. I mean, it's
Yeah.
absolutely insane
Yeah.
how nice of a schedule they have.
If Tata Martino, you're talking what, 4 matches?
You're talking 5 matches.
5 matches. If Tata Martino plays his cards right, 12, 13 points, not out of the question. If they get a couple things bounced their way, all 15.
That's crazy. Imagine if they got all 15, man. You're talking about 61 points. Oof.
And
In your
if they
first
get
year.
that, yeah, and if they get that, is that a team you really want to mess with in the playoffs? Especially because they would get a bye and then have one of those matches in front of 70,000 plus at Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, you don't want to play them in a home game.
No, that would scare me. Legit scare me.
I think the only thing you would worry about, and this is the case for Toronto too, in that when we have these second leg games and you're going away from home, depending on what you do there, you give yourself the possibility of look again, like this, where you wind up because of the playoffs. It doesn't really matter where you wind up. It's how you do in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
At this point. So, that's something you gotta. Yeah, I was talking to some Toronto fans, and they were, and just to Atlanta does play Toronto in Mercedes-Benz on the 22nd of October.
Ooh.
I just can't see Toronto, like, Toronto would have to lose every single game.
No.
That's just not happening.
And I understand that, but dare I say conference final preview?
It should be, but again, with the MLS playoffs the way they are, I don't know that I could say it will be. Because how many times have we seen teams that should go to the final get knocked out before because of the way this thing is?
Yeah, and that's why I say they need to revert back to the straight knockout, and I hope they do. The owners, and I know we talked about this, so I'm only going to touch on it this way. Yes, they'll lose $1 million based upon losing that home playoff game, but come on, you're going to reap benefits from expansion fees. Things will cancel.
Yeah, they'll cancel themselves out, but will they see that, or will they only see the short term?
No, let's hope, because if we have some myopic owners, then Don's going to have to give them a talking to. And this is one of those cases where I would support him.
I would agree with you on that. So let's get to the game that was the main feature, the big showcase, whatever you want to call it, for tonight. The 2-1 win for Sporting KC, their 4th U.S. Open Cup final, one of the squads that was founded by Lamar Hunt back in the old days. And Children's Mercy Park was rocking, and with good reason, because
I,
they
I,
almost. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, I swear, you would, only in the Midwest could you, in the same stadium, one time of year, you need a hydration break, and the other time of year, you're setting a record for the coldest match in MLS history. It's just weird.
Well, that's our climate for you. I mean, then, there's a certain person that doesn't think climate change exists, but, it
Yeah,
is.
well, orange folk really don't count in this conversation.
So,
You'll full color
okay.
with more natural hair, and then we'll talk.
Right on, man. You're correct about that. The first half was interesting. I was having to watch this on mute because we were doing the kickoff, so I'm trying to remember most of it. I do remember New York Red Bull getting opportunities, but they weren't anything that I would say put Melia in any kind of danger. Until
No, I
Blessing
mean,
got that goal.
he got the goal. He was in great position to score from almost point blank range, and then unfortunately, not long afterwards, got hurt.
Yeah, he pulled that. Looked like he pulled a hamstring or something. He was really grabbing at it there, and he had to go out. But luckily, the team fought on without him. And I don't know if I saw a few people saying that Jesse Marsh should have went ahead and had Luis Robles be in this game. And it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to say no. I can understand it's very much like Champions League, right? There's a lot of managers that like to have the Champions League keeper and the league keeper,
Yeah, I
right?
do that in top 11 all the time.
And so I can understand the whole having Ryan Miara. He's played the entire Open Cup, makes sense. But I think on that second goal, I wonder if Luis Robles stays home or has more veteran savvy and he understands where he needs to be. And I gotta say, a little bit of that's on Miara. Obviously, Sal Ciso, that is on him. You
He
cannot have your head turned the other way when the ball is coming in. But it's just,
Especially with a guy like Shallowy just being able to run, and he is quick and clever. He knew the ball was coming to him, timed his run perfectly for that one. Zizou not only turned his head around, but he was at least 2 to 3 yards too deep. He plays that much farther up, Shallowy's offside, it's still a 1-0 match.
exactly. And Sal Zizou, I don't know what he was looking at, but he turned around
And
too late. And that's not the first time that's happened. It happened against SKC in a previous game, too. And I don't know why you're playing him as a back. That's not his position, but
he had just come into the match.
yeah.
Literally fresh off the bench into the game, and that was his first moment.
Yeah, I didn't understand Red Bulls on the corners either. They made some weird decisions on those. Keita was unlucky with the shot that like bounced off his foot or whatever it was, and he didn't even get to take a shot. It seemed like up front for the most part until you got to that second half, really close to stoppage time, where Bradley Wright Phillips puts it in and makes Sporting KC sweat it out for the last 6 minutes.
I think it was barely in stoppage time
Yeah,
when
it was
he scored.
like 90 with 6 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, 90 plus, as you said, 6, 7 seconds.
It amazed me that in the first half, the guys you're counting on, not a whole lot from them. The BWP, Sasha Questions, all of them. Second half, I felt like they didn't really turn it on much until that goal goes in, and it's like, oh my God, we have to score because we're down 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I will say the Sporting KC was time wasting a lot.
Well, they did,
Yeah.
but I will say it was a couple of minutes before that goal that I noticed the Red Bulls, they were starting to play just a little bit wider, closer to the touchline on the left wing, and generated better opportunities. But I completely agree. It was too little too late. And of course, SKC is going to time waste in front of their home crowd. They know how to see matches like this out. That's why they have the major trophies and the Red Bulls don't. Plus, I would rather see the time wasting in this match than the blatant flopping around like you had at BMO Field.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's just, I hate seeing that. I could totally understand. I felt for Jesse Marsh after a while because it was just like,
Yeah, he kept
you
looking at
gotta
us,
be kidding.
getting more and more nervous, but it's like, too bad. At this point, your fate is not in your own hands. You've got to do something and press to try to generate at least a quick counterattack. You couldn't do that.
Yeah, the Sporting KC defense was well positioned. Of course, on those headers, Iko Parra is tremendous at getting them out. I forgot to mention Graham Zusi was the one that had the cross in for the Tees Blessings goal, so he was very instrumental in going forward for them as well. Just hey, they got some scares late in that stoppage time, but for the most part, really is just they held Red Bulls out, and once again, Red Bull cannot get any kind of trophy that's not supporter shield. So
Nope.
just they still have to wait. It's been now almost two decades or more for them to get that championship trophy, and they still can't get it.
Yeah, I mean, long gone are the days of the old Metro Stars, but I mean, it's no matter what the colors, no matter what the team name, no matter where they play, it's just nothing. They're just one of those unlucky teams. But hey, crazier things have happened. I've just seen over the past year, there have been teams that haven't won in 50 and 60 years finally break title droughts. So just be patient.
What I thought was much more, I thought it was very interesting the stat that they brought up that it's been a while since the Red Bull have won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since they won in Cincinnati in the Open Cup, it's been a loss or a draw. So
And
it's
keep in
been,
mind, that win was in extra time.
yeah. I mean, they beat Orlando right before that in regular time
Yeah, but
on
I
the
mean,
Saturday
still,
previously. But
so still, you have, going back that far, 2 wins, one in 90 minutes.
yeah, so I mean, my point is that since August 12th, which is the last time they won the league, where they beat Orlando 3-1, they have not won a game. They lost to Portland after the Open Cup win. They drew with New York City, drew with Dallas, drew with Chicago, drew with Philadelphia, and then they lost to Sporting KC tonight. So
So
coming
this
up,
match
yeah,
broke a streak of 4 consecutive draws.
yeah, and then you're going into Columbus on Saturday, which is not an easy place to play. If you
Uh,
lose there, I mean, You put Montreal right back in the race if Montreal is able to get any kind of points against Atlanta, which that's not an easy thing to do either. And then you've got a feisty DC team. After
The
that on Wednesday, I know.
Yet you call them
Uh,
feisty anyways.
they are. They've won more than they've lost recently. They play at BMO Field, which is not, again, their road record's awful, by the way. So that's another thing. It doesn't help them at all. So they go to Columbus, to Toronto. They play Vancouver and Atlanta at home, but those are not two teams you want to play right now. And then they end things at DC, so maybe they get a break there. But that Red Bulls road is not very easy if you're trying to make sure you sneak into that last playoff spot. So Jesse
Maybe they
Marsh
can
has
give
work
Von
cut
Miller
out.
some more Old Spice and he can build them a new road. Maybe they'll get in that way.
Might have to call more than Von Miller at this point.
I don't
But
know. Have you seen that man with a jackhammer? He can get things done.
yes, I have seen him. It's a great commercial. I love his Old Spice commercials. They're really funny. Uh, Not gonna lie, it's a joy to watch those. But yeah, I mean, they're sitting here on 42. Yeah, Montreal's the only team that's probably gonna catch them at this point, but they lose one. Again, you put Montreal in contention to tie you, and then you're fighting them the whole rest of the way. Obviously, Columbus Crew wants to get some separation as well, so they're going to be very in tune with that match to the Red Bull, because the Red Bull win, they leap the Crew on to 45 and get into fifth, and then the Crew are fighting off Montreal. So that's going to be a big battle there in that game. So yeah, Jesse Marsh has plenty to figure out here. The Red Bulls are 4-8-2 on the road. I should have mentioned that. Not a great record.
No.
I mean, better than Atlanta or Columbus for that matter, or Chicago, out of the contenders, but not the greatest record. So
No, and Atlanta's a very home-heavy schedule, so they don't have to worry about that too much.
to be fair, the only team that has a winning record on the road is Toronto. But that's because they were Toronto. I guess you could count New York City because they have. No, they don't. Never mind. I don't know. This is so weird because you have to add in the draws as well as not just the wins. But yeah, the Red Bulls have the second most losses right behind Columbus, who have 9. So yikes. I guess it should be making interesting last few weeks if, say, things fall their way and it is a battle between Columbus, Red Bull, and the Impact. Now, if Atlanta, for some reason, start faltering, or even Chicago, it's not a guarantee. They were just having to get out of a slump themselves. It could be an interesting thing in the East. The West is just going to be crazy. You got 3 teams on 44. The Whitecaps are on 45 and first right now. And then you have a little bit ways off the Earthquakes on 39 and Salt Lake at 38. And then you got Houston and Dallas at 38 beneath the line. So that West is going to be nuts.
The West isn't going to be decided until the final match day. It's just not.
Yeah, and if Dallas wants to get out of their slump, this is the game. This is the week to do it. They play Minnesota in Minnesota. If they don't win a game here, you might as well start counting them out for
Dallas, take note of this. Hockey preseason has started. The Twins are in a pennant race. Fans don't care. Minnesota's vulnerable. Do your job.
love how you always bring in the other sports as if those Minnesota soccer fans obviously have to love something else.
Well, again, Minnesota's a hockey state, and as I just said, NHL preseason has started. They're looking at the Wild, what they're going to do, how their first couple of lines are going to set up going into the season. Come on
It is a
now.
long season, though, in hockey. I don't know what they're caring about the preseason. They might wait till the regular season starts for that, though.
No, did you not just hear the words out of my mouth, hockey state? They don't care. They are like hockey in high school, just like Texas and California are about high school football. It goes deep.
I know, I get you on that. I'm saying that it's in preseason right now,
And
and not necessarily are they mutually exclusive. That the Minnesota United fans are also hockey fans or Twins fans or whatever. I'm sure people are going to care the Twins are in a pennant race, but you know,
hey,
it's the Twins.
Minnesota fans, tweet me at Squid Sports Head. Prove me wrong or agree with me. I have a
And
feeling.
as long as Case Keenum's starting for the Vikings, those are just
Why do you think
losses waiting to happen.
Why do you think I didn't mention the Vikings? I
I'm
know
just
what
saying they do care about the Vikings a lot more, though.
they do. But again, hockey. If they cared about football as much as they cared about hockey, then they would have their own memorial plaque in the Mall of America, just like how they have the memorial plaque for where home plate was and they shared the stadium with the Twins.
Okay. I'm not going to keep belaboring this point, but still, what I said stands. Dallas needs to win this game, or they're you might as well just consider them out at this point. Houston has a tough road to hoe as well. They are awful on the road, and they have to go play New York City FC, who, again, are in that tight race to keep their spot in the East. Dynamo have along with the Rapids, have the worst road record in the West. They've only won once out of the games that they've played, with 5 draws and 9 losses. So only worse than the Earthquakes, who have 11 losses on the road. Salt Lake has 10 losses, and of course the Rapids, who are awful, 11 losses. But yeah.
At least San Jose still has Scrabble.
Very true. San Jose plays at RFK against DC. Toronto, as I mentioned, plays at Gillette against New England. That should be a win. Chicago plays at Philadelphia. The Red Bulls in Columbus. So we talked about Dallas, Minnesota, Salt Lake, and Seattle in Sandy. And then you have Colorado, Vancouver in your nightcap for Saturday. And your triple header on Sunday is LA Galaxy and Sporting. Sporting, of course, going to be coming out with that big U.S. Open Cup win. Congratulations to them, by the way, if I didn't say that already. Montreal against Atlanta, which we talked about. And the last game on Sunday is your Orlando City SC against Portland in Portland on FS1. And there's also a double. The Sunday is a double header on Fox, which means that here in Miami they'll cut it off because they hate showing soccer on Fox. Here in Miami they'll cut it off for the news or some other BS. So
let Beckham United come into town. They'll change their tune.
Let's hope so. But I just can't stand the fact that I can never count on that on my frickin' Channel 7 here in Miami, they're going to be showing soccer when it's supposed to be on. But we'll see, I guess, when it comes down to that. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us here on this one. We will be back on our regular Sunday show, breaking down all these games here as we get 1 week closer to We're almost a month away from the MLS playoffs starting. Of course, NWSL, we kind of need to keep an eye on that a lot closer, as they are only a couple of weeks away from the playoffs. So that's going to be very interesting. You got, what, 3 teams fighting for 2 spots over
Correct.
there. So, and Seattle has the outside long shot. It's really between Orlando and Chicago. I'm
Yeah,
going to say.
5 points back with 2 matches to play. It ain't pretty.
Yeah, stuff has to fall right their way for Seattle to get in. It looks like those spots are really locked up as long as Orlando and Chicago take some points.
Yeah, their magic number is officially 2.
hmm So, all right, if you enjoyed what you heard here, you can always hit that subscribe button. You can leave us a comment on YouTube, WTONet.com. Last word on soccer.com. Listen through LWS Radio on Blog Talk Radio. You can listen, of course, through the Soccer to the Max. Just search for that on your iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play or whatever you like to listen to podcasts on. And if you hit subscribe, you get everything we do. We do specials like this. Wednesday is our normal midweek show, by the way, so we've been doing a show regardless of whether it was just the MLS games or we just happened to have the U.S. Open Cup final on this night. Like I said, we did a special show on Tuesday because anytime U.S. Women's National Team or U.S. Men's National Team play, we try to do a sort of reaction show afterwards. So we did 2 for the U.S. Women's National Team games, and we will continue to be doing that. Of course, the men are up next with the 2 crucial qualifiers with Panama and Trinidad and Tobago. We will. I don't know how that's going to work with I don't know how many people are really going to care too much, but they did have Josh Sargent on during halftime of the Open Cup final, and this is another thing that I had to have on mute because we were still doing the other show, so I didn't get to hear what he said, but
So that's who it was.
yeah, they already had, they named because they're doing like a special like 1-week camp for any U.S.-based players so that the coach can get a last look at them before they name the final squad that's going to play in the Under-17 World Cup in India that takes place next month, I think starting October 8th, so not too far from that. Of course, those times are just like Korea. It's going to be like at freaking 3, 4 in the morning, so trying to watch those games is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
India's technically like a couple hours more favorable than Korea, but just no.
Either way, not very helpful. If we can, I might record the under-17 matches for the U.S. and still watch them, but we'll see how that goes. No guarantees on that. But anyway, lots of stuff coming up on this side of the border, and we'll see what's been going on Sunday. Until then, see you later, everybody.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.